Hi, my name is Cameron Dilly, and I'm the director and starring actor in the film Godspeed. And today we're on the set of the movie, and we're going to show you some of the iconic filming locations from the film. So let's go inside. So this is one of the filming locations in my movie. In this scene, the protagonist grabs his mail as he's walking into his home. I learned a lot from the shot, actually. I utilized mise en scène, props. I had to write overdue on two different, pieces of mail. And I had to reshoot that, actually, so I had to, remake those props. And I also learned how to do a filming technique, the focus pull shot. My filmmaker, she utilized the technique to pull the focus from me in the background to the envelope in the foreground. And this created, a cinematic shot. And I really liked the way that it came out. So here we have the iconic pool scene from the film. I learned a lot from this shot in particular. I had to reshoot this shot upwards of 10 times using different lighting techniques, different angles. There's a lot of sound problems. And the main thing that I learned from this shot is time management. I decided to film this film on a rainy day, which was, it created a cool atmosphere, but it was a huge problem for time management. I had to film the entire thing in less than 2 hours, really, because the sun was setting and the rain. I couldn't film it on another day because it wouldn't be raining. So what you're seeing here are some of the different angles and lighting techniques that we use for the shot. You can see originally I planned to show the main character throwing the mail, and then we were gonna kind of run in and show a close-up. That didn't really work, so we scrapped that idea and we just went for a pan shot. We were going to pan over to see the main character walking away after he threw the mail in. And I thought this looked good at the time, but eventually I just decided to reshoot the entire thing on a different day when it was raining, and I propped my phone up actually against a succulent plant. And in terms of editing, I also learned a lot from this shot in particular. So this is the final version of the shot. But here I'm going to show what the raw footage actually looked like before I went in and edited the colors and the brightness and the exposure and everything. And I really just did this to make it look darker so that it matched the aesthetic of the rest of the project. And I'm also happy with how this editing turned out. And I learned a lot about the editing process and how colors work and all of these things. So this is the car that the protagonist drives in the film. I learned a lot in the filming of, the scenes involving this car. In the opening scene where the protagonist pulls into his driveway, I actually didn't have a tripod to film that shot, and I didn't have anybody film for me, so I used a step stool with a cardboard box on it, and I propped my phone up inside of it, duct taped it to the back of the box to prevent rain from, falling on the phone and damaging it or corrupting the recording. And, this created a really cool shot because it looked like it was filmed on a tripod, but, I had to innovate for this scene, so. Overall, I'm happy with how it came out.